Hey everyone.
Are we live?
Yeah,
we
we're
are live. Hey
live.
everyone, how are we doing? We're good. I didn't see the screen change for some reason. How are we doing, everyone? It's great to see you all. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. It's great to be with you all. Welcome today for a very, very special stream indeed. We've got
Yes.
quite a few of us here in the studio, which is
Full
great.
house.
I absolutely love it. Full house, absolutely full house. Of course, we're joined by our usuals. Nimiro, how you doing down there? I can
I'm
see you
fine.
below me
I'm fine.
and
I
the
love your
studio.
background. I love your background.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank
What
you.
a
I
nice
mean,
view.
it was a long fly out here to the Jurassic Islands, an unknown location, but we're here. We made it. So how about you, Nimiro? I mean, you're just in the STS studios
Yeah,
today.
I'm fine.
Uh,
I'm preparing. I'm preparing my first stupid question for our honorable guest today.
look
But
forward to it. Look
I
forward
will
to
wait
it.
after the introduction.
No worries. And we also have Darius as well. Darius, great to have you along, of course, our community
I'm
and
glad to
social
be
media
here.
manager.
And I
Yeah,
love the fact that your background is actually moving.
Yeah.
Like subtly,
it is.
but it's actually scary.
It's real.
Yeah,
I'm actually here.
It's a proof that it's real. So
It is. It is real. It's happening right now. I
nice
found
one.
that location. Yeah, and of course we're joined by our very special guest here, Jake from the Paleocast Gaming Network. Great to have you along with us, Jake. How are you doing this evening?
Doing very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is
No, thank you for being
insane.
here. Now, you might have seen we've shared some of Jake's content across our social media platforms, going through various areas of American Truck Simulator and showing off some of the kind of Jurassic kind of history and really interesting spots around our game. And we're going to be doing exactly that on the stream today. Hopefully, Jake's going to give us a bit more information about different areas of our game, obviously, that are true to life as well in their real life counterparts. And we're going to learn a lot. It's almost going to be like a lesson today. I feel like we're back in school, but I'm excited for this one. This is going to be really fun because you have so much knowledge. And maybe for those who don't know about you and what you do, maybe you can give us a little bit of an introduction, Jake.
Yeah, so my name's Jake. I'm a vertebrate paleontologist and a geologist from the UK. So that basically means I'm a scientist who studies rocks and fossils of animals that died out hundreds of millions of years ago. And I also co-host this YouTube channel called the Palaeocast Gaming Network with a handful of other paleontologists. And we're just trying to sort of review and react and play every paleontology-related game that there is, because there's literally hundreds of them. And then, last year I started doing these virtual field trips in American Truck Simulator, where I just drive around and look at the rocks, because they've actually done a really amazing job of recreating the geology of America, and it's awesome. So, yeah, that's
It's
about
really
it.
awesome to see. Honestly, the first time we saw a video that you put out in American Truck Simulator, we were very much taken aback. It got shared within our teams internally with everyone, and everyone was like, "This is so cool! This is awesome!" And it's great to see our game being used in that way, and almost a big compliment to our map teams who actually recreate those areas as well for you to then go on and teach others about it. And I kind of wanted to ask. Before we kind of get into things here, what made you start the gaming network? What got you into thinking I can teach people through games? Because it really is an interesting concept.
Well, I have to say, I didn't start the channel. I joined it afterwards. So the three people that really started it, Dave Marshall, Caitlin Syme, and Thomas Clements, who are three amazing paleontologists. I jumped on like maybe a month or two after they started because I heard they were doing it and I just thought it sounded amazing. And yeah, we were saying before we started the stream how I could have very easily started a YouTube channel where it was like angry paleontologist reacts to Jurassic World or whatever it might be, and could have kind of complained about how inaccurate everything was. But it's quite a fun channel. We sort of try to be a bit more positive and just try to do weird things where we'll find a game, use it as like a jumping off point to think about anything that we want to talk about that's related to our science. So like I did a video about Skyrim where I talked about how the dragon skeleton works and how fossils have inspired mythology and stuff like that. And we have quite a small community, but it's really lovely and people are really keen and really really like enthusiastic for this really obscure idea that I had no mind coming up with.
I actually wanted to ask you, like, and that's the stupid question I was preparing here, probably. Dragons. Please tell me, and if not, please lie to me. They were real, right? They were real.
They weren't real, probably. The thing that I find really interesting about dragons, and this is where dragon experts are going to get really annoyed at me, because I think there's a difference between dragons and something else, like a wyvern or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
The whole point is like one of them uses its forearms as wings,
Yes,
and
that's
the other one
dragon.
has wings on its back.
That's wyvern.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So like the idea of a dragon having wings on its arms makes complete sense because that's how wings have evolved in bats and birds and pterosaurs.
Right.
That's cool. How a dragon evolved wings on its back, like separate from its arms, I have no idea. That would be very difficult to understand because insects did that, and we have no idea how they managed it. Paleontologists have no idea how insects got their wings, so if someone wants to figure that out, you get a really good paper out of it.
But what about the fire? What about the fire? Spitting fire.
I have no idea how that works. I do apologize.
I still going to keep my beliefs in that they were really.
You should.
They are just hiding from us.
They're just hiding. It's kind of like the Loch Ness monster, right?
Yeah,
it's
true.
It is there. It's a real thing. It's under the water. It's waiting. But no, I mean, so many interesting things to kind of talk about here, and you talk about a range of different topics, and you seem so knowledgeable. But your main kind of interest and studies, you were telling us a little bit earlier, goes on underwater. It's kind of a place where we don't know much about, right?
Yeah. So I will happily talk to you all about dinosaurs. I've done some work with dinosaurs. I did a dig out in Wyoming, which was the last video I did, was like a nostalgic road trip around Wyoming.
That's awesome.
I saw your videos with the bisons, or buffaloes. I actually didn't know until that point that they are just roaming there, just walking around through the roads. Like they don't care about the cars, about anything. Like they just it's their land there.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
But yeah, no, dinosaurs are very fun, and they're an exciting thing to work on. But in my actual proper research, I work on fish. So I used to work on jawless fish, which are really, really weird. They have like external bony armor. No one knows anything about them, and they're really cool. And at the moment, I work on a group called stem teleost fish, which are basically the ancestors of a massive group of fish that live today that include like seahorses and your anglerfish and your pufferfish and tuna. Like this is a massive group of fish that have like 30,000 species in them, and we don't really understand where they came from. So I work on their weird ancestors. But again,
amazing.
No one has heard of.
Can we go through
a handful of people?
Can we go through one by one on the stream?
Like 7,000 species.
Just gets out this scroll and just starts reading off the list.
And by the time we'd finished, they'd have probably like discovered another one or two as well, which is hilarious.
That's insane. Well, it sounds like we need to start, researching and modeling some of those fish into our game, because then you could also go in and fly around with the camera and take a look at those as well. But I think we're about ready to jump into American Truck Simulator here. Maybe start off doing a little bit of trucking, also maybe a little bit droning around. We've got Nimro behind the wheel, who'll be our driver / camera operator. We're going to call you today.
We're going to be driving, flying drones today, probably.
That's
a bit.
And I see that you've got a bit of a dragon kind of skin going on as well on your truck.
Because that's, sadly, and basically that's the only paint job that, it's probably the closest to anything looking like Dinosaur we have currently in American Truck Simulator 2. We need to develop a paint job pack with dinosaurs like we did for Euro Truck Simulator 2, I believe.
Yeah, we got dinosaurs in Euro Truck Simulator 2 for the paint jobs, but not in American Truck Simulator, so maybe we need to fix that.
Yeah, all right, but
which would sound good.
Let's do this. Before we started, this stream, me and Jake were like exchanging a few emails, and so we've prepared a few locations, like from his point of view, from the point of view also from our map developers, and those who create the rocks, that they shoot us a few locations they would like us to talk about during the stream. So I have a few prepared saves of our game, so we will be loading them one by one, and then we will be talking about the things we want to show. Okay, so first thing first.
Okay,
it's gonna be probably Jake from your email. It's gonna be like probably from the bottom. So we are currently located in front of actually something saying like National Monument Canyon area dinosaur near the city of Rangeli, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this location was one from your list, Jake. So navigate me if you need me to drive further or look right, left, let me know. What?
Well,
what?
I didn't know what order we were going to do these in. But I,
might help, maybe.
oh god, Dinosaur National Wonder. We can absolutely talk about this. But yeah, sorry. So I'm kind of like, oh gosh.
No problem. No problem. We can skip them if you want.
No.
It's absolutely free.
I think after this we should go to the one in Utah that I suggested.
Okay.
But it's all good because Dinosaur Land, I haven't really got a lot to talk about it, really. I just think it's amazing that it was included because the town that's nearby is called Dinosaur, which is already awesome.
Wait, the town is called Dinosaur? Wow.
Well, there's a town called Wrangell nearby, but there's a little town called Dinosaur. And
That's awesome.
To the left where the sign is pointing. So that's Dinosaur National Monument, which is amazing. And that's basically just this vast expanse of a rock called the Morrison Formation, which is where everyone's favorite Jurassic dinosaurs come from. It's where Allosaurus comes from. It's where Stegosaurus comes from.
Really?
Diplodocus. Yeah. And this is the rock formation that I got to work on, but it wasn't here in Colorado. It was over in Wyoming because it's just this huge layer of rock that spans all across this part of America. So I wasn't sure what order we were going to do them in. And the reason why I put this one on was because I noticed that in some of the previous live streams you've done for the community convoy, you ask people, what would you like to see added to the game? And so I was going to just jump to that straight away because I think it would be really cool if you could add a dig site to this area, which there are many. And I don't know if you know this, but there is a big intersection between the trucking industry and the fossil industry in that we send a truck to come get our fossils when we're done because they're really heavy. Because they're just these huge slabs of rock.
That's actually right true. We probably
missed that.
We missed that. We should include that.
And the load looks really funny as well because you've just got all these buckets and boxes of tools and then just these big slabs of rock that get covered in plaster because they've been taken out of the ground, so they don't know what's going on in terms of the temperature and the light and things like that. You have to really protect them, so they get strapped down with all these bungee cords and things. It just looks insane, and yeah, you should totally add that, and you should make it so we can take them to the museums, like the one in Vernal or the one that's kind of hinted at in Thermopolis.
That's awesome.
I wanted to, such a good idea.
That's
oh my god, that'd be so
actually
amazing.
Really awesome. Do you actually know maybe how these fossils are transported? If they use some kind of special trailers where everything is because I guess these fossils are quite fragile, right?
Yeah, I can send you a photograph of what the truck looked like once it was.
Please do.
We're gonna get that.
Yeah.
Write that down.
No, but
That sounds awesome.
it sounds like a good idea for a special transport. Carrying a huge fossil.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, full scale of Tyrannosaurus Rex or
I mean, I don't know if they would put together the dinosaur at the dig site. That's usually when they get to the end destination. But I mean, that's kind of
so theoretically speaking, these areas probably still contain a lot of fossils, right, under the ground and beneath the ground.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. This area is really interesting because it's one of the few places where the public are allowed to just kind of go in and touch all the bones in the rock, essentially.
Really?
That's how they've set it up. Yeah, it's really cool. I've never been here, but I really want to.
Me too. Let's do a field trip. Let's do a field trip.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's bring some pickaxes, or I don't know how guys you are doing that. You probably are having real modern technologies, right? Because you basically cannot probably dig everywhere because you could probably break these fossils. You need to scan the ground maybe first, or
it's actually not that high tech, to be honest.
Okay.
It's basically just the closer you get, the finer you've got to be, essentially. So you've got a sequence of rock that there's no dinosaur fossils at the top. You can probably dig through that with a digger or shovels and things.
Okay.
But then when you know that, okay, the next inch of rock could have a bone behind it, you've used tiny little knives and brushes and things like that. So it's very, very slow and very laborious.
Wow.
But no one really. I don't know of anyone that uses scanning like that. People normally use that for other purposes. I don't think you could really. That would be the dream, though. But I wanted to mention the Morrison Formation because that's the one that I work on, and I've got heaps of bits of bone. I don't know if you can see that. That's
Oh my goodness, you have some
bone
there?
from. That's
No
a bit
way.
of Morrison dinosaur bone. Because
way.
if a piece is small enough that you can put it in your pocket and you can't identify it, then it becomes what we call a Souvenirasaurus, which is And now whenever I I've I have so many of these little bits, and I just give them to people.
Oh, that is
That's
actually
so cool.
really, really cool.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
so yeah, go on, sorry.
I was going to say, these dig sites that are here in this area, how long have they been around for? Because you'd think, after a while maybe they would get exhausted of
Yeah.
bones and the fossils like that. So are these quite new dig sites? Have they been around for a while and they're still discovering things? Or
What usually happens is this kind of, we just know that the area is, what's the word for it? I almost said like, it's like fertile, if that makes sense. Like it's
Right, okay.
fossiliferous, yeah. And you kind of, a lot of the time you might have a dig site that existed in like the 80s and then they gave up on it, and then maybe like 30 years later someone comes back and has another go at it. That tends to happen.
Wow,
as well.
okay.
So I couldn't really tell you how old some of the dig sites are, but
That's so
Dinosaur
cool.
National Monument is very old, and
That's so
yeah.
cool.
And so that's all I wanted to really say about this area was just
No problem.
really
That
cool
was
if
a
we could-
lot. That
if
was
we
a
could
lot.
get closer to it, yeah.
Okay,
I think-
you said that you would like to get to the first place you
Yeah,
meant in
that
the
one I
emails.
sent
You
you.
mean that
Yeah, yeah.
Moqui Cave near St. George? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
It's,
I think that's a really good place to start, because what I wanted to show people with this is that it's not just about the big landmarks, it's about little cut-ins that you've probably driven past before and never even noticed.
Okay.
They represent something really cool.
Okay.
I have
I'm
one
excited.
question, just out of curiosity, because when Nemiro asked about using modern technology and stuff, I'm so glad that you responded with like basically all you need is a shovel,
Uh-huh.
and because I'm speaking from experience, and I wonder how much of this quote dirty work have you done yourself? Like, do you have a lot of experience with it, or?
Well, kind of, yes. So I've spent maybe 2 months in Wyoming, and I've spent like a day in Shropshire. But then, in addition to that, which is a
Glamorous.
tiny little rainy spot in
Yeah.
the UK, but I've also done fieldwork as part of like education as well. And this is something that I also kind of wanted to mention real quick. That like outside of paleontology and geology, people kind of imagine fieldwork is a bit of a holiday as well, which it kind of is. But when you're doing your degree, older professors tend to sort of talk about it like it's this big rite of passage, which is horrible, because fieldwork, it's quite inaccessible to a lot of people when you really think about it. A lot of people can't afford the like the raincoats and the waterproofs and the walking boots and the equipment. There's a whole myriad of reasons that we outlined in a paper not too long ago, actually, about how fieldwork isn't ideal for people with physical disabilities, with anxiety and autism, people who are trans. All these people like really struggle with it. So if you combine that with this older attitude of, oh, you're not a real geologist unless you do fieldwork, basically telling a lot of people that they're not real geologists for reasons that are out of their control, which is horrendous. So that's why I really like this, because this is virtual fieldwork, which is way more accessible that anyone can do.
Right,
I think that's
okay.
really cool. Anyway, these rocks are really awesome. Over by the cave, I don't know where it is on the stream now for the little view thing. These things are amazing, by the way. These little viewpoints.
Okay,
Viewpoints.
Yeah.
You can see there's 2 layers of rock. I think I can see it on the left there.
Let
You've
me
got-
skip that. Let me skip that.
If
I'm
you-
gonna be your drone. So navigate me.
Okay,
navigate
okay.
me
If you head like backwards,
backwards.
turn around and head down the road and sort of I know the stream will be probably slightly delayed.
Here?
And just look on the left on the turn around, like 360. No, sorry, 180 degrees.
I
Yeah.
think the drone is a bit confused.
And just head like towards the cave. So basically the opposite of what you did. The other direction.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And you can kind of see. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. Okay, turn around again, and then you'll be there.
Turn around again, like here.
180 degrees.
No,
away.
180. The other side. There you go.
So that's it. Perfect.
Okay, cool.
Hey.
Okay.
Whew,
Um,
what a hard
wait.
work.
I love that that's like a sign of things to come. Like that's gonna happen again, I'm sure. But yeah, so I've shown this spot in a video before, but I think it's really cool because it kind of shows what geology is and what I'm talking about, basically. Because what we do is we look at rocks and try to tell a story. And all of this canyon, we've got what we call sedimentary rock, which is rock that's made up of sand and clay and mud. And these rocks these were laid down when dinosaurs were around. So
Wow.
on the cliff face opposite us, we would sort of start from the bottom, work our way up, because the rock on the bottom has to be older than the stuff on top, because, well, that's how it works. Like, you can't have something exist without something on top of it. I like to think of it like when you empty your bin, the stuff at the bottom of the bin is really old and smelly, and then the stuff gets relatively newer.
Gotcha.
But if you go to those like horizontal beds near where the cave is, that's the first layer, I guess we can think about it. You've got this nice sort of yellowy sandstone with these kind of diagonal lines going through it. And those lines are what we call, they're not fully accurate, but they're meant to represent crossbeds, which form when sediment is deposited by a current. So rather than just sort of settling nicely in a lake, it's been pushed by something. And these lines are so big that they can only be sand dunes. So this used to be a desert.
Oh,
And we call it the Navajo Sandstone. And yeah, this whole area was a massive desert during the Jurassic, like 150 million years ago. And that rock is old sand dunes. You can even tell which direction the wind was blowing if you really study them. It's really cool. But here's the thing. Dinosaurs tended not to hang out in deserts, and if they did, their fossils, they don't become fossils. Their bones just get turned to dust.
Right.
But this was the thing that made me realize that I could do these videos in this game, because on top, you have a different layer of rock, that kind of crumbly looking, sort of reddishy.
It's like a brownie.
mudstone.
like a mud.
Yeah. Exactly. That change in rock tells us that there has been a change in the environment. And that change would have been pretty gradual, but because the contact between them is quite jagged and sort of wiggly, it tells us that there's something missing in between there. And there's actually a lot missing, because the diagonal rock underneath it is 150 million years old from the Jurassic. The rock on top is 50 million years younger from the Cretaceous, like the early Cretaceous. So the Jurassic comes before the Cretaceous.
But what's missing
that
then?
mudstone,
And what it is?
well, what's missing? Well, we know that the sand represents a desert and the mud represents a coastline. So we know that during that time, the sea level rose, the desert kind of retreated. And as the sea level rose, well, dinosaurs turned up, because it's a nice coastal, swampy environment. And that whole rock is full of dinosaur fossils. You find Iguanodon, Deinonychus, Denontosaurus, not T-Rex time just yet, but that thing is it's also full of dinosaur footprints as well. And the reason for that is it's all crossed with different streams and things. So if a dinosaur dies in the stream, it gets buried. And I just love so much driving down here, seeing that change in the stratigraphy is what we call it. That's amazing. I don't know how people drive in areas like this, though. In real world, I would just crash constantly because I'm looking out the window. But that's really cool. And that level of detail is pretty consistent throughout this game. And you may have never noticed it, but I think it's amazing.
That is a mind blow. Wow. Like when
That's
you can
cool.
see something in a different way, and you're doing that, you're opening our minds to look at things at a different way within our game, things that you just don't pay too much attention. It's a cool looking rock. That's what you first thought. Nice cave, cool that. But learning that history, that makes such a huge difference. And I can see chat as well saying mind blown, learning so much.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. This is really cool to hear. That's
would-
amazing.
Imagine having a time-lapse video from some kind of a GoPro, seeing all the sand dunes changing into the sea, and
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
damn, man, that would look so cool.
That cave is really rubbish, by the way. I was reading about it because I wanted to know what was in it, and it turns out that it was this amazing thing that was carved out by the indigenous group that lived there at the time, and then some guy just covered it in concrete and now just sells tat in it, and I'm like, okay,
no.
that's such a shame.
Oh, it's a shop.
It's
All those
so
million
disappointing.
years of evolution and changes and shop selling keychains or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
What a business
Weirdly-
model.
This guy.
This guy. All right. That was
That is
so
incredible.
Cool. That was so cool. Let's continue.
Yeah, I'm
which
excited.
of your places would like me to cover next? We have
we
the Snake River Bridge.
Yeah, let's go there. Let's go to Twin Falls.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Makes me want to visit there. I'm actually quite jealous that you've gone to visit these sites actually in real life in Wyoming, and I wouldn't have been none the wiser. That's awesome.
There's so many places in this game that I want to go to.
It's actually the viewers are surprised how much they can learn just from playing a video game, but it definitely is this sort of underrated, I would say, platform through which a lot of people can learn. And I don't know how you see it, but I think it's very important. It's just I don't know what the feedback to your work, Jake, is from I don't know, maybe from like the older paleontologists, if they approve of this or not, because
Well, probably not. A lot of older
yeah.
paleontologists, when you say the words virtual fieldwork, they get very defensive because they think you're trying to replace real fieldwork, which is saying it all. But no, it's really cool. We call it like tangential learning, and I don't know a lot about like plants, but I've learned so much about how the plants change from the west coast further east in this game because you've modeled it so accurately, from like the big lush trees over in Washington into the sort of kind of dry sage bushes over here. It's really cool.
That's
Just that attention to detail.
That's a massive appreciation to our team.
It is. Yeah.
I hope they are watching or they will watch the recording of this because like that's a massive shout out to them. And you know, as I said before the stream, I was talking with the leader of our let's say vegetation and rocks team, or how to call it, and he was actually like very shy. Like he was like telling me like, hey, do you think it's a good idea? We know that some of our rocks are not accurate, and we know that the map designers are kind of forced to use some type of rocks here and there, again and again, because like they basically cannot have like every rock around for the certain place, so they need to use like let's imagine it like from a library of assets representing rocks. And so at some places we know that the rocks might not be really accurate and that they are not fitting to that place, but still it's really good to hear that we actually did a good job at some of these places.
Absolutely. I think the states wouldn't feel like the states that they're meant to be if the rock was like the wrong color or whatever. You've got to have that red sandstone out in like Arizona or whatever it might be. Yeah, this is the Snake River, and I find this really awesome. And the reason why I like this is that if you really wanted to, you could. Okay, well, I'm going to suggest a road trip that some people could take in this game.
Okay,
so
do it.
If you've ever been to the Salt Flats in Salt Lake City, like in the game, you can visit the Salt Flats, the Bonneville Salt Flats, and they used to be that used to be a lake. 20,000 years ago, there was a huge lake there. It was like 300 meters deep. It would have completely submerged Salt Lake City if it had been there at the time.
Wow.
Like imagine like one of the lakes from like the Great Lakes from the Midwest, just kind of plonked in the middle of Utah. But before it dried up and became the salt flats that we know today, it burst its banks and it flooded. And normally when we think of geology, we think of it happening very slowly and very gradually, but this was like a catastrophic thing where over the course of like 2 weeks, several billion Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of water traveled from this lake through Idaho, through Oregon, to the Pacific Ocean. Wow. And we know it happened because there is a trail of destruction left in its wake.
I can imagine.
And we're here in the Snake River Gorge, or Twin Falls in Idaho, and this gorge is way too big for this river. So we're pretty confident that this floodwater used this river and just scoured it through. So if you like move the drone to sort of look down the river,
it must have been massive.
Yeah, I would have killed to have seen this at the time. It would have been unreal. And if you sort of, I don't know if you want to like fly down there, but you can see there's like boulders as well. That's very accurate. All across Idaho, massive boulders that this flood deposited everywhere. And that's a really good attention to detail. And I've not tested it, but I bet if you drive around Idaho in this game, you'll find more boulders like littered on the side of the roads and things.
I never thought about it. You look at these boulders and you think, they're nice and scenic, but I guess almost in a way it's almost a little bit like Stonehenge. Like, but wait, how do those boulders get there? Like, they're too.
Something very powerful had to have moved.
But imagine if this whole canyon or gorge was like full of a river, kind of a like massive amount of water moving somewhere. These rocks would immediately feel kind of tiny in comparison to the massive river, or how to call it. So these are literally the sediment, right, of the river.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you find a river today with like little pebbles in it, it's the same thing but scaled up. And this trail of chaos continues all the way into Oregon to if you've driven from Oregon into Washington over that amazing bridge in Astoria, that's like a big roller coaster. It's a huge canyon near the Columbia River. That's where it all ended up. So you could, if you wanted to, you could drive almost the entire route that the flood took. The reason for this is that the flood sort of carved a route through America, and colonialists who came later on like the Oregon Trail used the same route because there was a natural kind of pathway through towards the west coast, and that's why all the roads are there now. So this one geological event impacted so much of culture and history from it. If that makes sense.
That's incredible. So it was like a natural historic event that just
sort of
crushed
had
everything in its way, and then from people then coming to settle here. You talking like the pioneers, was it? Like that they just kind of went through America,
the sort of European colonialists,
right? Exactly, yeah. And then from there, now there's roads because of these massive lakes. That's incredible. You just don't think about sort of stuff. That is pretty cool. That is very
crazy.
Cool.
I'm just gonna believe it was the dragons. Okay.
Yeah.
Believe that. All right.
But what could be the cause? Like a massive earthquake or like.
It might have been, yeah. So you can go to a place. Oh my gosh, what's it called? Somewhere in Idaho, because the lake extended all the way into Idaho, and you can just see a lot of gravel and debris in one spot, and it's believed that that's where it sort of burst through. But the landscape has changed so much; it's not really clear anymore where it started. If that makes sense. There's a town in Idaho called Pocatello, I think, and that's where I think it starts there. That's where it joins the river, at least.
Wow.
I did a video in Microsoft Flight Simulator, unfaithful, I know, where I sort of followed the route along. If people want to see that,
we good here. We know there are a lot of cool games. But look at the paragliders, or how they are called. Like how tiny they are. Imagine that this gorge would be a river.
Yeah, I never noticed the paragliders before. That's a really cool detail. I like it.
Wow.
That is awesome.
I would kill to see that back in the time, you know.
Yeah. How different it could have looked before the destruction.
Look at
just
that.
kind of flat plains. Yeah.
Full of river.
The way that it's just carved itself through there and kind of created these valleys, almost kind of reminded me reminiscences of the Grand Canyon, because that's a similar kind of story. So,
Quick
I say story, but as in how they,
Quick question. Imagine we are living back in the day, and this massive amount of water is like flowing through this gorge, and you have a kayak. Would you send it?
I think given the size of the boulders that are in the water, I don't think you. I think you become jam. I think you just
probably
I don't think you're gonna make it, but it would be very fun, very briefly. I'm sure.
Yeah,
very briefly.
I mean, the force of it is kind of scary. Just how scary Mother Nature can be in those kind of situations. It really shows the power and monstrosity of these events that are taking place. That they can literally carve through, that many layers of rock is insane. Absolutely insane. Wow, that is so cool.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless just by imagining how breathtaking it must have looked. Wow. All right. And the fourth place you had on the list is Lake Crescent.
Yes. Yeah. Near Port Angeles.
All right.
Let's head there. I'm excited. I'm excited.
And then we also have a few places that our colleagues prepared for you.
Yeah. One of which I hadn't seen in the game before, which was really cool. So,
okay.
This one is a little more complicated, but I think, as geologists often have to try and think in 4 dimensions, and to a lot of people that can be really difficult. But I think people familiar with video games might be better at it, if that makes sense. But if you don't understand what I'm talking about, that is not your fault. That is my fault for explaining it badly, because it's pretty advanced, but it's really, really, really cool.
Bring it on! I'm ready. Let's see if we can get this, because everything so far has been absolutely fantastic. And folks in the chat, I encourage you to go follow the Gaming Paleontologist network over on their YouTube channel. It's been advertised every 5 minutes by Nightbot, our favorite friend in the Twitch chat. The links underneath Jake's name is there as well, and they play an array of different video games, teaching you all sorts of different interesting things from all of their wonderful knowledge that they have and sharing it through video games. And like you said, flight sim, truck sim, and many other games as well that have some really cool details that maybe you just didn't know about, and you can learn a thing or two as well. So make sure to go give them all a follow and give some likes to their videos and share the good word as well. All right, next location. Here we are. Beautiful postcard lake. Oh yeah, go ahead.
On that note, by the way,
yes.
I have to thank you all as well, because when you first shared that video, that was such a boost for our channel as well. We were just starting out, awesome. So thank you.
That's good. That's good.
So we're in an area now called the Olympia Mountain Range over in Washington State, right on the very western coast. And I'm going to talk about plate tectonics, which is a little confusing, but it's really important and it's really cool. So the Earth's surface, the Earth's crust, is divided up into these big jigsaw pieces that kind of float around on top of the magma. And they sort of slowly bump into each other, and they have all these interesting interactions. That's like the foundation of a lot of geology. And the plate that North America sits on and the plate that the Pacific Ocean sits on are moving together. And as a result of that, the Pacific Ocean is getting slightly smaller every year, just a little bit smaller.
Okay.
As this happens, the Pacific Ocean plate goes underneath the American plate. I'm very oversimplifying this, but if you imagine you've got this huge slab of rock that is covered in an ocean, and it is colliding with the crust of this big continent, all of the sediment that sits on the sea floor gets scrunched up where they meet. If you imagine sort of moving your finger through dust on a shelf, or your boot in the sand or in the snow, all that sediment just gets crunched up into this big wedge. And that's what these mountains are. They're not volcanoes like Mount Hood or Mount Rainier or Mount St. Helens that are nearby. This is just sand from the ocean that's been wedged and sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, just mushed up into this big pile, and then glaciers have since carved them up into lovely mountains. So this is all former seabed, which is really weird to think about. But there is a tiny detail in this area that I love so much, and the fact that it's included is genuinely amazing. So this is going to be another instance of me trying to direct the drone.
Let's do this.
Delay.
Let's do this.
All right, here we go.
The drone is ready.
If you face the lake and then turn around 180 degrees and look up the hill.
Face the lake, turn around, up the hill.
Yeah, let's see if this works. It's on a slight delay. Okay.
Like this?
Yes. So if you go up the hill, you'll see there is a darker rock, like a layer of rock, somewhere up there. We might have to look around for it for a bit. But it's very distinct because it has these big horizontal lines going down through it. Oh, I can see it. It's at the back there behind the trees. You can kind of see, to the left slightly, you can just sort of see sort of column-like structures. Sort of very angular wedges, if that makes sense.
Am I pointing the right direction or?
Maybe go through a bit more. I don't know.
Turn slightly left a little bit, maybe.
Maybe. I was just wondering, really quickly, just on a very quick side note, Jake, are you watching the stream through the Twitch channel at the moment, or
I'm watching it through? Oh, I'm watching on the Twitch channel. Oh wait, I just realised. Yeah, I can watch.
Yeah, you can watch. You can watch it live through the other application. That one. That should be cutting that delay out for you, hopefully.
That is so much easier. Oh my god. Yeah. You're in the perfect spot right now. Anyway.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So this is tucked away. It's right up in the trees. You probably wouldn't even notice it when you're driving around. But this is here in real life, and what it represents kind of gives me goosebumps. It's so cool. So it's a darker rock, and it has these sort of hexagonal columns, which you might recognize if you've driven to Devil's Tower in the new Wyoming expansion, because that's what igneous rock looks like. So it's not sediment, it is lava that has cooled into solid rock. And when it does this, it sort of contracts and it forms these hexagonal columns. And in the video, I talked about a few of the places where you can see them, like the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland has them, Devil's Tower in Wyoming has it. There's a place called Devil's Post Pile in California that has these sort of, hexagonal pieces. And it's here too. But it makes no sense that it should be here. Because like I said before, these mountains, they're not volcanoes, they're sediment, they're like bits of the seafloor. So why is there a bit of igneous rock here? But even weirder, if you look at the composition of that rock, it doesn't even match any of the volcanoes that are nearby either. It actually looks more like it belongs somewhere like Hawaii, which is really weird.
What?
What's happened is Hawaii is a volcanic island that So earlier I mentioned the tectonic plates.
I know what happened.
Okay, hold on. So you've got a hot spot under the tectonic plate, which is sort of warming up Hawaii underneath it. And as Hawaii moves, you sort of get little chains of islands. You've got like this. I often have to do hand gestures. I don't know if you can see them in my webcam.
Yeah.
So you got little volcano forms, and then the plate moves again. Another volcano forms. Plate moves again. Another volcano forms, and so on until you get that little chain. Well, as America, like 60 million years ago, is moving along, hoovering up all this sediment, it hits another volcanic island, which we call Silesia,
Yeah.
and consumes it. It literally eats this island. And that little sliver of rock is there in real life, and I like to think of it like a bit stuck in America's teeth, almost, of just this tiny little bit. The rest of it is underground, and it's all been incorporated into the continent, but it's just this little sliver that we still have, which is already amazing that America ate an island as it moved. But even weirder, like I said, it had to have spawned of one of these hotspots, which is just a really hot spot underneath the crust. So if America hit the island, surely that's underneath us now, and it's in Yellowstone. So it's so cool how it all connects up. So America ate the island, and then the hotspot was underneath America, and now by this time it's underneath Yellowstone. But even cooler than that, if you drive an American Truck Simulator between Yellowstone and Crescent Lake, you can find the volcanic rocks. You can find very bright rocks. There's a place called Smith Rock, I think, that looks very bright and out of place. That's ash from previous volcanoes that used to be along the line. There used to be old Yellowstones in Idaho and Oregon. And you can just see little bits of them.
Oh my goodness.
And so one day, like 10 million years in the future, Yellowstone won't be there anymore. It'll be in like Nebraska or something. And I love it so much that you can piece together all these little bits of information and reconstruct the story. I hope that makes sense, but I just love it. It's my favorite geological fact of all time. I think it's amazing.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
I need to buy a cake for our map designers.
Yes, do it.
Like what?
They need to rewatch this whole stream. I think they're going to have their mind blown. It should be a mandatory video now to watch within our company. My mind is absolutely blown right now. It's just filled with all this incredible knowledge and information that you're sharing with us. And again, the kind of details that I would expect to kind of see in our game, but someone with that kind of expertise as yourself, noticing that is absolutely incredible. I don't think I'm going to be trucking the same way ever again in these areas. I don't think it's going to be possible.
It's so nice that not only does it all fit together, but all the little pieces are in the game, and that's just really cool. Without even thinking, you've created this perfect representation, and it lets us teach people about really cool stuff. Because if you were to talk about that in the real world, it would take hours to drive the route. You can just fly around in American Truck Simulator and be like, "Here's how it works." It's really cool.
That's fantastic. That is so cool.
Wow. I feel like we should add more educational signs to our games or something.
Yeah, I noticed that sometimes you'll have little information boards and things. They're often quite accurate as well. So I don't know. I know that I've seen people ask for more information during the viewpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we're gonna have to do. I feel like we're gonna have to maybe
maybe
approach our
Jake,
team and see,
probably.
But yeah, we're gonna have to be like, hey,
gladly help
we
with
should
that.
do this. That's very, very cool.
Awesome.
Dang. Another awesome location. All right, what's next on the list? I'm excited.
Next on the list.
That's my locations done. I think everything else is ones that you wanted to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but your list was amazing. I wonder what you are going to say about the places we prepared for you. Okay, let's start with this thing, for example, Rocky Mountains.
Yeah. I've not got heaps to say about this, but it is important to mention this because it's quite. Yeah, it is just important, I think. I'll wait until. This area has been recreated just stunningly. It's incredible. I think this is the most recent. No, sorry, before Wyoming. This is one of the more recent ones. It just looks amazing. The thing I really wanted to say about this area is that I'm talking like a big know-it-all, but I need to stress to people as well that we do not know everything. I should really stress to you that there are long-standing mysteries in this field that we want people to sort of figure out and end these endless debates, because geologists who have spent their entire lives working on the Rockies do not know when they began and do not know when they stopped. Because unlike the Alps and the Himalayas, the Rocky Mountains are done. They're not growing anymore.
Okay.
And we don't know. And that's really cool to me. I really like that there's this really big and important mystery that it might be years away before we actually agree how these rocks formed. There's a million arguments about how the rock was uplifted and how it ended up in this way. And no one agrees. And I just think it's really important to mention that. Yeah.
One of the great mysteries of the area, and it's a beautiful area. I'm happy that it's there, but that is wow. So I can imagine people have been studying that for years, and like you're saying, lifetimes on end, and it's still a little bit unknown to us, which is always kind of weird to think about. But hey, it's there, and it's there for a reason, and hopefully at some point in the future we're gonna find out. Maybe hopefully with the advancements of technology and such like that as well. Hopefully we can do more things in the future. But what a beautiful area, and I'm sure there's a lot of interesting history to it as well that is yet to be discovered, and that's the exciting part, right?
Yeah, I could assure you that like the way it looks is flawless. It looks incredible. But for a fun fact, it's a big mystery. We don't really understand it, and I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
All right,
Very
let's
lovely area.
do another one.
Should we do the Garden of the Gods?
Okay.
That's my favorite thing,
let's
because
do
I didn't know this was in the game until
I really want to
tomorrow.
go there. I really want to go there in real life. But
It's
yeah, this
actually
area in our game is a bit secret, right?
It is,
Sorry,
it
Darius,
is.
you're going to say that.
This is
This is
such
what I
a
was
romantic
told,
name as well.
It is a romantic name, yeah.
Yeah, I was told this morning that it's a very top secret. Only people kind of accidentally wander into it, so I've never come across it.
It's one of those little hidden roads that we have. We have quite a few of them within our game that are
Let
kind
me
of
bring some
off the beaten route, off the
more
trucking routes that you
light.
can discover.
Yeah,
So,
it makes me think how many more I've missed. Look into it again.
All right, let's
All
have a
right,
look around here.
drone time again. Just stop me where you want me to stop.
That's perfect right there.
Okay, cool.
We can look at these amazing rocks, because this is actually how it looks in real life. You can drive right up to them, which is really fun. So yeah, this is Garden of the Gods, which I've only knew was in the game this morning, and you can see a lot of nice features here. You can see nice horizontally layered rocks. So these are, I think, let me double check my notes. Yes, they are Carboniferous in age. So this is before dinosaurs that these rocks were laid down, and in this time, basically, this part of America was underwater, and it was for hundreds of millions of years. This was just an ocean.
Really?
Like I said before about America sort of growing as it accumulates all that sediment, back at this point, the west coast was way, way, way further east, if that makes sense, like way further in towards like Wyoming. And there's some nice things you can see here. You can see how the designers of this area have put in different layers of rocks, different alternating textures. You've got like big, thick sandstones and then sort of thinner, muddier layers. And what's neat about that is that these layers have different resistances to erosion, to the elements. That's where you get the little overhangs and the little cut-ins, because the mud might erode a bit better than the sandstone. But the thing I love most about this area is that rock that's kind of balancing on the little plinth there. It's literally known as the balancing rock or something like that, I think. And people are often very scared that it's going to fall on their car, even though it probably never will. And what I love about features like this, there are loads of them all over America, where a big lump that is resistant to the erosion has stayed while everything else around it has been washed away. That tells us one very crucial thing about this area, and that is that it doesn't get a lot of earthquakes. Because if it did, it wouldn't be there anymore.
True.
That's very true, yeah.
And that's really useful, because, why would you... Obviously, we want to know where earthquakes happen, but we also want to know where they don't happen. And so areas like this are actually really useful for being like, this is a stable environment relative to other parts of America, because you wouldn't have these fragile, delicate structures like we do here.
And
I just think that's quite funny.
Is there any geological explanation for the name, or is it just the name?
I think it's just the name. A lot of these locations were obviously renamed when colonialists sort of entered this part of America. So I'm not sure what Garden of the Gods is referring to be completely honest with you. pretty much everything that we talked about has been renamed at some point, though. So I'm not 100% sure. Sorry.
Great.
No, not at
I don't
all.
know what
It's
they- I don't know what
really
they were thinking.
fascinating. So I know you can find like a lot of different rock structures, kind of like this one around America. I've been
Yes.
incredibly lucky enough to actually go to like Zion's National Park in real life in Utah. Bryce Canyon is stunning as well, and a few others. I went to the Arches as well, hiked up to the Arches.
Oh my gosh, I would
The one that you
love
see
to
on
go
the
there.
back of the back of the license plates that you see, the famous Utah Arch, and there's a lot of different rock formations. I think they have one called the Apostles out there as well, or something similar along like that, and different balancing rocks and stuff. And it just makes me think, what signs did I forget to read in the gift shop that might have told me what kind of were maybe similar stories to these? Because it seems like every rock has a story to tell, and that's incredibly interesting. And again, someone just driving past or driving to the Garden of the Gods might not even think about that sort of thing, unless you really kind of look for that information, which I hope is posted somewhere within this little Garden of the Gods in real life. I imagine it is, but
So yeah.
yeah, no, it's super interesting to kind of know about those different layers of rocks, and it's great to see it in detail here as well. Again, just one of those things you don't really think much of until you're kind of told about it, which is super interesting. So, and I can see lots of people in the chat as well, really enjoying the stream as well. So,
I mean,
it's fantastic to see.
I'm kind of like disappointed by myself that I never been, I probably wouldn't ever think about like, hey, this area might have not been having so many earthquakes, because like if it would, this boulder, this rock wouldn't be there. But it makes so sense, it's
makes complete sense.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
This is a nice place for fossil hunting as well, because it used to be underwater. The sea is a much better place for making fossils. So there's no dinosaurs, obviously, but like you find nice little shells and stuff like that.
I was going to ask, actually, do we know what kind of ocean it was? Was it like a cold ocean or warm ocean? Do we know kind of about the ocean type that used to be there, or not really have those details?
Probably, yeah. You can tell a lot about the composition of the ocean. There's an area that I think we're going to look at in a minute that we know must have been a warmer ocean, which I'll get into later. I don't know about this particular spot, though. I'd have to look. Okay. I guess because it's quite coarse-looking sand, I imagine this was still quite shallow, maybe. That's my suggestion there. I couldn't tell you just by looking at it.
Of course, yeah. No, I'm just trying to think of like, if this place was on the water, how would you imagine it? Would you imagine
you're
it
thinking
cobble
like
or with sand, or I like that idea.
But you're thinking like a geologist now. You're starting to question, like, what does this mean? What does temperature?
Alex, you showed your true face.
I'm sorry.
These are questions that we ask, so that's really good.
That's good. All right, I'm excited. Let's get on to the next location then. Where are we going to head next?
Absolutely. I believe we are going to head to Utah.
Well, actually, since we just mentioned the ocean sediment and things, the temperature, do you want to go to that big, beautiful canyon in Colorado that you suggested?
Okay, then it's going to be this probably. Let me check.
Yeah, Glenwood, I can see it on the loading screen. That one.
That's actually like, a coincidence. Because these loading screens are like randomly picked,
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, so yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, and we are going to release our drone. Shout out to DJI for supporting this stream. And here we are, right? Don't tell me this was a river.
No, I want to go here so badly. Oh my god, this looks amazing. This forms slightly differently to the Snake River Canyon because it wasn't done chaotically. This was done very gently. This is really weird to get your head around. The river has stayed at pretty much the same height. The river is fixed, pretty much.
Really?
But the rock around it is being uplifted. And so the river is staying in the same spot, eating away at the rock as it comes up to meet it. Does that make sense? Because it's quite a weird thing to imagine. The rock is being uplifted by various tectonic and geologic processes. And the river, because this is limestone, this nice grey rock, this isn't sandstone anymore. Limestone is really chemically active. You can pour acid on that cliff and it will just go, just fizzle out into like bubbles. Yeah, it's hilarious. But rainwater is slightly acidic, very, very slightly. And so a river just eats through it. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know this for certain, but I bet all of these like cliff sides are full of caves because that's what limestone does. It gets rain trickles through it and just creates these big caves and caverns and things. there's an area in the Peak District in the UK, not too far away from where I used to live, which is exactly the same. Lots of limestone rocks and big caves and big open spaces like that. But it's quite fun because this is limestone, which we generally associate with much warmer oceans. So at this point in time, this area was kind of like a tropical, maybe sort of ocean, maybe like a reef environment, like a coral reef.
Okay.
Thing. So you find fossilized coral, you find fish fossils at last, finally. And yeah, it's really cool.
That is really kind of crazy to kind of think and kind of wrap your head around. Some people in the chat are a little bit confused by how you're explaining it. So I'm just going to try clarify it here. So it's worked its way down. So the river stayed at the same height the whole time is what you're saying, but because it's just like laid itself down, is that correct? Like slowly, or is it? So
I'll try. Yeah, sorry. No, they're absolutely right to ask for clarification. It's my bad for not explaining it.
No. You're fine.
So 300 million years ago, this was an ocean. And all of this like white grey sediment was laid down in that ocean. The ocean has since long dried up, and hundreds of millions of years later, that rock has been pushed upwards into the sky by various forces that I am not qualified enough to talk about. Faults and just things pushing against each other. It happens so slowly you can't even perceive it. So that's happening. At the same time, the Colorado River is flowing very merrily through this area. And the Colorado River is very, very slightly acidic because it's made of rainwater, and so it eats limestone. And so it's carved itself a nice little channel in the river. This uplift starts, and all the rock around it, well, the rock that it is sitting on, it's all being pushed up. But the river is so powerful and so erosive that it is actually scouring away at what's beneath it at the same speed that the rock is coming up, because it's happening slowly. And so I'm trying to think of a really good analogy. If like
it's like working together, like one force is pushing it down and the second is pushing it up, like so.
I'm really bad at thinking of analogies, but it would be kind of like imagine if you had a big cake and you were lifting it towards your face and you were eating it as it came towards you.
That's so good explanation. Like I finally get it. Food. I finally get it.
Yeah, there we go.
And there's a ton of canyons like this all over this part of America that formed in the same way, because this uplift was happening all over. So the Wind River Canyon, Lithopolis in Wyoming, formed the same way. The Grand Canyon as well formed in the exact same way. All this uplift was happening. And the rivers, they're just really powerful. They just eat the rock as it comes to them. I really hope that makes sense. I think that makes a lot more sense. I think as well it has been artificially widened by the road. I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've sort of manually dug away to make the motorway that comes through here.
The highway,
the highway, sorry.
Through some of the rock and everything like that. Yeah, I know. I have to say highway as well on the stream.
Yeah. No, of course.
But I understand. I understand where some parts might have been, had to be cut and stuff like that. But that is super interesting. Again, an area that I never even would have expected an ocean to be. But there we go, and that's super interesting to see the rock formations that have come of it, and they're beautiful. I mean, they're so tall and just up there. It's incredible to think how much has been shifted and now pushed up as a result of that, showing kind of like the power again of that river and that erosion and the movement as well over those millions of years. And now we're here with these results, and it makes me wonder, give it another how many millions of years, what are they going to look like? Are they going to be mountains with snow caps on them? Or what's how tall can we go here?
Imagine that. Like, I feel, my friends, I feel so tiny and pointless,
Well, now comes the time when positivity ends. So
I don't mean it by the negative way. I basically cannot explain myself, but it's by getting to know these things. As I was talking to you before the stream, guys, I was thinking very deeply yesterday and the day before when I was thinking about this stream, and I was like, if this is happening through millions of years, then what is a 80 years of a human life? It's a second.
Yeah,
it kind of is.
That is.
Yeah, but you gotta, we're in a very privileged position where we can.
We're gonna live, we're gonna spend our life, and we if we are lucky, we're gonna spend like 80 years, 90 years, and this area is not going to change that much. If something like catastrophic is going to happen,
It's very grim, but yes.
It's very grim. Yeah, it's very grim. I want to see it
a-
change.
Yeah. No, I get you. I would be like kicking the rock, like move,
Yeah,
do something.
do something like.
But on a brighter note, again, how do real world truckers drive through this canyon and not just careen into the river because they're looking out the window? This is amazing.
True.
It's so many roads in America.
It's definitely out of a postcard.
Yeah.
It makes me want to go there. We definitely got to do some sort of work visit, for research purposes, of course.
Yeah.
It's complete work
research.
purposes.
I will bring some acid with me, and I'm going to try that limestone a little bit, just a little bit,
A little bit.
to make it do something.
In academia, we call this a writing retreat.
Yeah.
That's what put that on your expenses, and you can do what you like. It's all good.
That's so cool. Man.
That's
All
so
right.
good.
All right. Let's see what do we have more.
I think there's one more.
There
In
is
Utah.
few more. Oh, in Utah. Okay, let me check.
Well, I thought there was the.
We have the. Oh yeah, you mean the Dragon Rock?
Yeah, which is kind of the same place as that other one.
Yeah.
You sent, yeah.
It should be 1, 2, 3. No, then maybe this one. Let's find it.
Maybe we should have named him a little bit better.
Yeah, probably.
It's okay. Probably could have been a little bit easier.
I was kind of thinking that we are going to, but I believe we are looking at it. Maybe not.
Yeah, this is the right sort of area, I think. If you sort of head.
Let's release the drone and let's bring more light. And
A flashbang.
you're gonna stop
we
my
go.
drone when you think.
Yeah, I think if you get onto the interstate, and head down 70, you can sort of.
I
this
love
whole
that
area.
rock on the left. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, this whole area is just amazing. So this area, I think it's called the San Rafael Desert. I think that's the name of this area.
Okay.
And this is the fun thing about the more places that we do, the more you're going to see how connected they are. Because this is also an area that is being uplifted. It's the same uplift that was happening over in Colorado. There's a huge area called the Colorado Plateau. It's all being uplifted. And that's essentially what this is as well. So you've got... there's actually a rock that you may recognize from earlier, the Navajo sandstone, that deserty Jurassic sand dune rock. That's here, a part of this sort of heap. There's another rock called the Wingate sandstone, which is slightly older, so you don't get so much dinosaurs in it, but you get an animal called a phytosaur, which is kind of like a crocodile. They're not really crocodiles; they just evolved to look like crocodiles, or the other way around. So you've got a lot of sedimentary rock that has all these amazing fossils in them that have been, again, just shoved up into the air by all this uplift, twisted and folded into these folds. And if you head back onto the interstate, I think there's a spot where you can sort of, onto the, if you head back the way you came, I think you can see these sort of big, layers sort of dipping into the earth. Yeah, it kind of looks like a lot of pizza boxes that have collapsed over. It's
Food they can-
Am I at the right place or?
That you can see it in the distance. It's sort of those big.
In the distance.
layers that
I
are
believe
just
we can
like-
fly
yeah.
closer because they're.
Oh well, there you go. And yeah, that's essentially what's going on here. There's not really. It's lovely Jurassic rock that had dinosaurs fossils in it potentially, and in some places that have just been jumbled up and stacked on top of each other by various geological processes. And it looks really cool from above. If you were to go on Google Earth and look at it, you'll see how it's ended up this way, how it's sort of been crunched over and folded up. And this is why it gets really complicated trying to tell that story. Because back near that cave at the very start, it was really nice. You had one layer, another layer on top. But here, it's all jumbled up, which means that it's a lot longer to try and figure out what happened here and try to reconstruct that story. Yeah, so there's just another area. And like I said, the more areas we do near here, the more they're going to start overlapping and all part of this big story, which is nice.
That's really cool. I mean, I guess you kind of never think about it when you're driving. You just like it's very flat plains, and suddenly you just have these giant rock formations that just suddenly out of the ground. And I've never thought about it. Just thinking about how did that get there? You just don't
Yeah,
question.
me
It's like it's a nice
neither.
rock.
It's just
You just
rock.
think,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a nice
just
rock.
rock.
Yeah, but it's amazing to think that because of millions of years ago, tens of millions of years ago, hundreds of millions ago, there was an ocean there, and it's all been crunched up and brought into these formations, and it's still
But
continuing to grow to this day. Wow.
actually, here in Czech Republic, in the
Oh, here we
southern
go. Yeah.
in the southern part, there are like huge vast forests, really like full of green, but some of the forest out of nowhere have like randomly dropped massive boulders. That how. And I was always wondering, like when wandering or hiking around them, like how did they get there? Like who put them?
I-
Who put them there? Like or what? Like was it
I
a
have a
river?
pretty-
Was it a sea? Was it a lake? Or
I was the dragons.
It was the dragon. I have a pretty good guess. My understanding of that area is obviously nothing because I'm very ignorant. But I would assume that a big boulder like that in the middle of nowhere was dropped by a glacier. So glaciers can pick up huge boulders and carry them for miles, and we call them erratics.
what?
Yeah, so that's what it is. A boulder. So like in Manchester, where I used to live, there is a huge boulder in the middle of the university campus that is from the Lake District, which is a mountainous area miles away.
Scotland, right?
Yeah, near Scotland. Yeah, and glaciers would have carried that rock, and obviously the glaciers melt. The rock just doesn't melt, well, at least not at that temperature. And that's how I would reckon those boulders got there, if I had to guess. But I don't know for certain. But I imagine, yeah, glacier dropped it off at some point.
I love
Even
Nemo's
huge
face right now.
Yeah,
He's
I
just,
was just
like,
thinking about that. Yeah.
jaw dropped to the floor like
I would
glacier.
never think about this way. I was thinking like, yeah, it probably was a sea before, or something like happened with the massive gore over the Snake River, something like that. I was thinking like, okay, a huge amount of water like went through this area, but a glacier.
Yeah, there's certain like.
But it makes sense
principles
again,
that-
like
Well, yeah. There's certain ideas that we can kind of stick to figure these things out. So, like those sand dunes that we talked about earlier, that sand is tiny. It's really, really, really fine grains because it was carried by the wind, and the wind is relatively weak. You can only move bits of sand. Then you move that up into like bigger rocks, probably a river. Move that up into even bigger boulders, probably a flood. Even huger boulders, it's got to be a glacier because water just isn't as powerful that often. You know what I mean? You kind of have to. That's the process that we go through, if that makes sense. Yeah.
absolutely. Wow.
I need to do a video on Euro Truck Simulator though, because I don't know much about the geology of Europe. And it would be cool to find things like this.
No, there actually was an idea in the chat that we should make a radio channel in the game that would be educational or something. Maybe you can voice it.
Let's do podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Kind of semi ASMR sort of thing as you're driving around.
Semi MSMR.
Just sort of, just kind of me, as if I'm like the passenger sort of sitting next to you, like, so let me tell you about this area.
Okay, tell us about this area. We are in Colorado, in quite famous place called $1 Million Highway.
Ooh, I don't know this place. Can we fly around a bit?
Yes, sir.
I thought this was the canyon that we were in before. I have a
Well,
horrible feeling.
The drone is released.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, okay. I have a feeling.
I believe
that I'm
this is
probably gonna
a
end up
limestone
myself.
again.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're just in a further extension of that huge canyon that we saw earlier.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
It probably is.
It's-
You're probably right because I
Probably
believe
is,
like if
yeah,
it's the $1 Million Highway is in Colorado, so probably this might be some kind of either it might be like Colorado River itself or some kind of extension or like arm of it.
Yeah, these layers of rock are gigantic. They span entire states. So I wouldn't be surprised if we've just found like the same type of area in the same state. Does that make sense? Yeah. But again, I that's what I would assume this is another coral reef. But there are some slight differences in the color, so I wonder if there were changes here in the sort of climate and the animals that would have lived here. If you spin slightly to the right, what's that huge cliff face over there? That's cool. I wonder if then there's been different erosion here. So I'm now talking from purely hypothetical because I'm not 100% confident in this area. I don't remember seeing it earlier. This to me looks like it could be slightly different rock because it's eroded slightly differently. It hasn't formed a nice straight canyon wall. It's more sloped and there's huge chunks of debris. So perhaps there was something more here. Maybe again glaciers maybe have been responsible for broadening out this canyon. But I think it's the same rock. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more limestone from that.
Maybe
from that
something
old
for
ocean.
a future video or stream where there's further research done, because I mean it is a beautiful area
That's
again,
cool.
you know, with the rocks and everything like that, the way it's all carved through. They got a waterfall as well, and
That's again further evidence that it's limestone. The deep gorge of that waterfall is scoured out. It's just very
It's
easy.
eating it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's deep into the rock. Yeah,
Mhm.
you can really tell, which is really, really cool to kind of get those little signs now that you can just say like, yep,
Man,
that's limestone.
Man, if
that's the thing.
if I ever go to visit these places, I'm gonna flex so hard with everyone. Like, hey, you know what this was like? This is a limestone, and you know the river is eating it. You know, and I'm gonna flex so hard.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
True.
Exactly. What a gorgeous area it is, and yeah, definitely on my places to visit. I'm quite jealous for the people that get to kind of come out here and learn so much about the area, because it is super, super interesting. And again, it's so fantastic having you here on the stream to kind of have this knowledge and, you know, having your expertise, and even just by looking at, you know, what is essentially boiled down to it, textures in a video game, you know, with the detail there, you're kind of making ideas and, you know, hypothetically of like, this could be this and this could be that, and it just goes to show, you know, your expertise and as well. And I can imagine that's taken a long time to accumulate in terms of studies and education as well. I mean, how many years would you say you've been kind of learning about this stuff for now?
I'm actually relatively very early in my career, so I don't know.
Really?
I'm
Wow.
halfway through my PhD at the moment.
Wow.
PhD. Wow.
but-
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, not a brag.
Now,
no.
now I feel even more pointless.
Oh, Nimmer.
No. Because most of this knowledge is mostly pointless. Because I don't know a lot of other things. It's all just been replaced with geology knowledge. But no, I'm only like 2 years into my PhD, which is really fun because I started it right at the start of the pandemic. Doing a PhD in a pandemic has been pretty crushing.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that.
Literally, we started and it was like, okay, here's a list of all the museums in the world that we're going to go to.
Nope.
Nope.
Never mind.
Never mind. But you know, that's why this has been quite good, doing the sort of virtual lessons and things.
Right,
Because,
yeah.
well, yeah, that's kind of what we're stuck with at the moment.
Well, that is impressive either way, and wish you the best of luck with your continuation of your PhD there. I imagine it's quite a lot of work and study that goes into those kind of courses as well. So yeah, I hope it all goes well from here. I mean, it sounds like you're doing really, really great with it all. So we'd love to hear about your progress in the future. We'll definitely try and keep up in contact with you.
All right,
Well,
and we have one bonus location more. One more location.
Bonus. Okay.
Okay.
The drone is
Exciting.
released, and we are at a place called, I believe, let me check, Hell's Half Acre in Wyoming, I believe. Yeah, it's in Wyoming. And basically the leader of this DLC sent me this location upon my request with a note like, hey, you can check probably this place. It's kind of weird but cool.
The description of that's cool.
So
Yeah, the geology here is really cool. Really like spiky layers.
yeah,
It reminds me of Bryce Canyon again. That's the kind of vibes I get off that. It's kind of spike and layers that you see with the kind of the red and the white in between as well, the different sediments there.
So what I think you can see here is sediment, as I said before, normally gets deposited horizontally, but various things can flip that rock over. I think what's happened is you've got this horizontal layer of rock that's been turned upright. So now the layers are pointing upwards. And earlier I mentioned that when the rock is deposited, you have like nice tougher layers interbedded with softer layers. And I think that's how the spikes have formed. So what happened is the sort of more chemically weaker or the softer layers have been cut out, and so now we're just left with these vertical pillars and these vertical spikes. That's what it looks like to me. It's really cool. I think, can we fly deeper into it? Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Let me try. I believe that's where our textures are, going to meet their limits, but because...
Oh, yeah. When I do the videos, I'm really conscious of, like, not showing the holes in the wall.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I had to reshoot a whole thing once because you could see a very clear gap. Really annoying, but it makes sense because from the road, why would you ever look in that direction?
Right.
But yeah, no, it's really cool. I don't know off the top of my head what the actual rock type is, but I'm actually going to look it up because I really want to know. But I think
What was the name of the area again? It was
Hell's Half Acre.
Hell's Half Acre, yeah.
That's a really interesting name. Like almost like hell.
There's a lot of like devil hell names
in
this area, isn't there?
It looks like there is some kind of a like fog or even like steam coming out of.
I know that's why I wanted to check because I don't know if that's just atmospheric ambient sort of fog or not, because I didn't see that when I was researching this earlier. All I'm finding, because I want to know what the rock is. I want to know if there's a reason for that. All I'm finding is a million articles about how Starship Troopers was filmed here, and that's great.
Oh, okay.
But I don't need to know that right now.
Help me, Google, please.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to buy this. No, I don't want to read this.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I mean,
oh God, sorry.
I was gonna say it is a beautiful area. I mean, either way, I can see why they would do filming here. The rock formations are fantastic, all the different kind of patterns and the sizes, and
It's kind of even feel like a little bit like Different Planet-ish movie, like
almost right.
Yeah.
It looks like space, like Mars, or I don't know.
Well, it's really funny. So, a lot of us have it in our head that this is what space looks like because, like, it's just where they film.
Yeah, true.
Right,
Which is really.
They told us what to think, right?
But I think, and this might be completely wrong, but the San Rafael desert that we were in Utah earlier, I think that they've used that to test like rovers on Mars and things because the sediment is so similar. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's a thing.
I believe that's correct. I think we actually even covered a blog about that. Nimmo, do you remember?
I believe, yeah.
Where there's an area where there's like I want to look this up now. There's gonna be two of us like talking on a PC. But I remember that
right.
there was
Darius, try to find something as well. Everyone's gonna be googling. Like,
I'm searching already, but it's like I don't know.
There was an area. I know exactly what you're
research.
talking about. I just don't remember where it is. It might have been.
Utah DLC. It was quite a back then, right? Already, so.
Right.
I love how everyone is just so focused now. Just
sorry, chat. Stand by.
But no, so it's all good. So I thought that's right. So I don't know why, like the mist atmosphere. That's just part of the sort of vibe, which is fantastic. I was wondering if there might be like a geyser here, but it doesn't make sense. So it's all good. But no, the rock anyway is like Cretaceous Paleocene in age. So this is rock that was laid down pretty close to the end of the dinosaurs' reign, which is quite cool. I think that's kind of what this environment represents. But the cool thing about it is you can see this horizontal rock that I pointed out earlier. But there's also some horizontal rock nearby too. I don't know if we can see any. And that's where, again, there's another gap in the sediment. With a sort of gap in time. And that rock, that horizontal rock, if it is nearby, maybe they can see that in the distance over there, is Precambrian in age. So when we say Precambrian, we essentially mean so ancient that animals as we understand them have barely evolved at this
Here,
point.
probably?
Yeah, maybe. Unless it's kind of on the other side. I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, I just love geology. I'm enjoying looking at these rocks. There's an area near here somewhere.
But it's a limestone as
you
well,
have
right?
really ancient rock. It may very well be, or again, they've just used the asset. Again, sometimes you get those stripes out of the actual layers in the rock. But actually, here's something interesting. Okay, so the spikes are going up like that. So that means that that's the bedding. So if the coloured bands are going the other way, then that's just like chemical staining or something as it's sort of being eroded. Like there maybe might be chemicals in it that react in certain ways to the atmosphere. So that's why there's like a crisscross pattern. Does that make sense? Yeah. It gets a bit more abstract when you get into like weird areas like this.
Exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
I also found the area that Nimo you just mentioned, I think, or oh no, it was you, Jake, that mentioned about testing the space vehicles. It's actually in Idaho.
All right.
I actually wrote a blog about it.
Oh, really?
And yeah, the area is called the Craters of the Moon National Monument.
Yeah.
And is a part of Idaho. Between 2,000 and 15,000 years ago, the area known as Craters of the Moon National Monument was formed during 8 major eruptive periods in which lava erupted from the Great Rift, a series of deep cracks that started near the current visitor center and stretches 52 miles. Since its last eruption, the lava has cooled and formed unusual terrain with volcanic rocks, lava flow, and rich dark soil. And they allow visitors to go around. And during 1969, NASA sent some of its best-known astronauts to prepare and receive training for their future Apollo lunar missions there, which is super interesting. So that's in Idaho, where they have that kind of space kind of looky area because of the rock formations and the lava that's cooled and all that sort of stuff there as well. We actually wrote a blog about that. In fact, I think it was me. Yeah, it was back in 2020. So
Nice.
a very, very interesting area as well. But yeah, I can see why, because yeah, it feels so alien-like out there, doesn't it? It's very planet, very unknown kind of terrain and very rugged as well. So I can see why they would use it as almost like a test bed for a lot of different vehicles for the space program.
The weird
It's
thing is
super
as well,
interesting.
the weird thing is once you sort of like learn about the geology of the Earth, and then you start looking at some of the pictures that come back from Mars, it's really familiar. Like obviously people have in their head that Mars is so different, but when you look at the layers of the rock, you're like, oh, a river did that. It had to have. And that gets me. Oh, that's so exciting.
It really is. And learning about the million years of history behind us, the tens of millions, hundreds of millions of years, is super interesting. And it's even more exciting to know what's going to happen in the future as well, because the world is ever changing, ever evolving, ever moving. And that's the incredible part of it as well, is that it really is life in these rocks, as you would say. They are still a part of the earth and still growing or shrinking or forming or whatever it may be. And it's exciting to see what we know about it already, but there's so much more to learn. And that's the incredible thing about this earth. It doesn't just limit yourself to the rocks here that we see in American Truck Simulator, but there's so much more to it as well. And it may give you a different view, chat. I'm sure a lot of you have learned a lot. I definitely have. I mean, my brain is filled with so much information. It's incredible. And you won't just see these as rocks anymore. I'm never going to look at these rocks the same again.
Me neither.
It's been really a fun stream. And Jake, we cannot thank you enough, not only for you and the guys that you work with as well that have created the videos on your channel. Again, make sure to give that a check out. The Palaeocast Gaming Network YouTube channel is in the chat. We'll make sure to give it another link as well on our socials. But also for coming here today and being with us this evening and sharing all of your wealth of knowledge and of the area and showing it through American Truck Simulator, which is just mind-blowing to see all these little details that have actually been included and the things that you're able to point out as well. And I'm sure there's a lot more to be discovered, not only in the current states that we have, but possibly in future states that we're going to release as well, with Montana and Texas coming up as well. Maybe there'll be a few things around there, who knows, that I'm sure you'd be looking forward to as well.
That was
I know
cool.
you're I know you're in your wrapping up mode right now, but I wanted to ask you something really quickly.
Please,
Okay.
go ahead.
On the Steam listing for Montana, it says, let me double check the exact wording for it again. A one-of-a-kind dinosaur trail. What's that about?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
That is a great
We cannot tell yet. You need to wait, my friend.
That is totally fair. But I am really excited to see what that's going to be. Because, spent a lot of time in Montana, and oh boy, it's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing
awesome.
Quick question,
Wow.
From me. Are you going to, or are you looking forward to see the next Jurassic Park movie?
Well, like I said earlier, I feel like I should probably go and see it because people will ask me about it.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And it'll be nice seeing Alan Grant and Nellie Sadler again, but I don't know if I want to see Chris Pratt and his weird, freaky dinosaurs that don't look quite right.
Right.
Wait, are you trying to tell me you couldn't force the dinosaurs to do something just
Like a
with the
dog?
palm of your hand? just like with posing?
Oh my goodness, I have no idea. Maybe I'll go and see it. But I think way more interesting things are happening in video games when it comes to representing dinosaurs and other ancient animals. There are so many, like we've shown on the channel previously, so many weird niche little games that are actually, trying to pay attention to the recent science, and that's really interesting.
It is.
But obviously, Jurassic World has a lot to answer for when it comes to inaccurate screaming monster dinosaurs, which.
So we could put that as a title for our, a slogan for American Truck Simulators: more accurate than Jurassic Park.
Oh yes, let's do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's do this.
That's
Let's do
it.
this.
Perfect. Well, Jake, again, thank you so much for being here with us this evening, taking your time out of your own personal time to be here. It's been such a fun stream, and it's been amazing to just learn so much. And so yeah, we can't thank you enough. And maybe again in the future, we'd love to have you back on again for some future states. I mean, I'd love that if you're up for it. But we're excited to see more of your videos as well on your YouTube channel. Again, we'll give you just a minute here just to kind of plug the channel that you have and where people can find out more about you and the guys that you work with on the gaming network, and if people want to find out more about paleontology as well.
Yeah, so come watch the channel. We're a very, very small but very niche and very enthusiastic little YouTube community I'm extremely proud of. We passed 1,000 subscribers just at the end of last year, which is a really cool milestone for us. And it's really nice. Like I said, we try to find a new and interesting way of doing it, not just of complaining. So it's very positive, and we try to find the positive parts of these games. And yeah, if you want to keep up with what we're doing, we have Twitter accounts, we have Facebook accounts, Instagram accounts where we post everything that we're doing. But the best way to do it is just to subscribe to the channel and see what we have coming up. We've also recently started getting into live streaming. Last Thursday, I did my first ever stream just to sort of practice for this, and it was so much fun. I definitely want to do more of that again. So that's probably the best way to ask us questions in the chat for the live streams. And if you want to get more into paleontology, that's a whole other thing. But I would happily, I have on Twitter, I'm just at Jake_Atomy. I think my name might be on the screen somewhere, I'm not sure. No, but if you go on the Paleocast Twitter, you can DM us and I will point you in the right direction if you are, I don't know, if you're really keen on pursuing this further. The best thing you can do though is just go out, find rocks, and if you find something that you want to know more about, just take a picture of it, find your nearest museum or university, and email them, because there's lots of scientists like me who just want to talk to people and are quite bored and are very happy to answer your questions. If you've ever wanted to ask a paleontologist anything,
that's so cool.
Go on Twitter, email universities and museums. We're actually pretty keen to talk to the public.
There you go.
Yeah,
you never know. You might find some Jurassic history in your back garden. So get out there.
100%.
Yeah, we encourage you just to kind of explore more and discover what is around you in the natural environment as well. It's not just limited to museums. It's out there in the real world. I know it's scary, but
Jake, I can see a lot of props in the chat. Like a lot of people are actually like saying that this was the best stream so far. Like,
oh my gosh. That means the world, chat. Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. This is, like I said, this is the second time I've ever done any live stream like this. So that means the world. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And go on, Darius. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to repeat pretty much what I said like halfway through the stream, that it just shows the importance of the technology of video games and kind of educational fields like these. And it's very underrated and very, I would say, because with what used to be in archaeology, that there's this thing called archaeogaming, which is apparently they've called these people who are doing it, they call it punk archaeologists, because they are kind of going against the grain. And I feel like you said that with paleontology it may be the same. So yeah, who knows? Maybe it will develop even more. Maybe who knows? Maybe this stream will actually help. Who knows?
I hope so.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I know that a lot of the lecturers that I know at the university I work at are really enthusiastic for these videos as well. And I have been asked before if like there's a way of integrating it into almost like the syllabus, but I think we're still a ways off from doing that. But I would be so up for that.
Jake,
because-
yeah, sorry, continue. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, at the moment, we just use Google Earth, which is great. Google Earth is the best game ever made. I love it. This is way,
Best game
way
ever
more
made.
fun. It's so good. But like
so
this is just another level of doing it. I just
Awesome.
think that the attention to detail is just perfect for it. What were you going to say? Sorry. Before I cut you
Nah,
off?
I just wanted to, suggest a slight suggestion, like whenever you guys gonna find a new dinosaur or new fish, consider naming it like Neminosaurus or something like that.
Oh my gosh. So, I am in the process of some potentially new fish species. So, maybe.
I mean,
Maybe.
if you will be like lack of or out of any ideas, you know where to find me, man.
Yeah. I think you've earned it.
Nah, I'm just
Definitely.
joking. I'm just joking.
That's so exciting. Well, unfortunately, we do have to wrap things up here because we have rapidly run out of time. Unfortunately, I wish we could probably go on for another few hours if we had the time, but unfortunately, people have got to get home and we got to get back to our living spaces and get some food because then and rest down for the night for another day's work tomorrow. But again, it's been an absolute pleasure. Nimro as well, Darius, thank you so much.
Thank you,
for
guys.
being here this evening and joining us
What a
and
blast.
bringing a lot of questions and stuff to the table as well. And of course, chat as well. Thank you so much for your support. This will be available as a VOD on our YouTube channel to rewatch again in 24 hours time. So that'll be tomorrow, Friday evening. You'll be able to rewatch this stream, or you can watch it again here on Twitch straight away, which will be available as a VOD straight after the stream. So thank you everybody for being here. And we hope to bring you more exciting content like this in the future as well. And let us know if you have any ideas for people you want to see on the stream in the future. Always let us know via our socials as well. But that is what we have time for. So I guess we'll wrap things up here, right, guys?
Yep, that's it.
All right. That is it. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Again, thank you to everybody, and a massive thank you to Philip behind the scenes as well for all the production.
He's
And we will see you again another time. Take care, everybody. We'll see you for another one.
See ya.
See ya.